Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now, on with the show.
Give me sight beyond sight.
Greetings, Starfighter. You are about to listen to the totally super awesome 80's Reboot Overdrive podcast. Always remember, no matter where you go, there you are. Ready Player One.
Dear Mr. Vernon, we accept the fact that we had to sacrifice a whole Saturday in detention for whatever it was we did wrong. But we think you're crazy to make us write an essay telling you who we think we are. And you see us as you want to see us. In the simplest terms, with the most convenient definitions. But what we found out is that each one of us is a brain,
and an athlete,
and a basket case, a princess,
and a criminal.
Does that answer your question? Sincerely yours, The Breakfast Club.
All right, so this is Dave, and today we are talking about a very important topic, 1985 movies. So we're going to be talking about from Real Genius to Weird Science. We're going to have a conflict with Michael J. Fox where he can't figure out between his flux capacitor and having a hair problem. Yes, of course, I'm talking about Teen Wolf. We got St. Elmo's Fire. All kinds of good stuff for 1985. We want to jump right into it, and we want to find out if Goonies really are good enough. So on the podcast today, we've got Tim.
Hello, everybody.
And Matt.
Greetings.
So guys, once again, we've got IMDb up. We're continuing on our series of 1985 movies, which follows the series of 1984. I've got it sorted by Movie Meter again, and once again, Movie Meter is telling us based on the most popular movies that are looked up in IMDb. Number 1, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. I'm pretty sure this one's up at the top of the list because, most likely the most recent Mad Max movie. A lot of people were probably looking this up, but the thing that I always remember about this movie is Master Blaster. You guys remember the little guy on top of the big guy?
Yeah. Can we just skip this movie?
Want to skip right? We want to go right past Thunderdome, do we?
It was a bad idea to cast Tina Turner in there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I love Mad Max and Road Warrior, but this movie didn't do it for me. I think I've only seen it once.
This movie's just a total mess. I think this is when George Miller decided to make really, really wanted to make a kids movie. And somehow this ended up coming about.
Well, there was this part where Master Blaster, and since I seem to be alone on, a quasi-like for this movie, not a huge like, but just a little like, was the part where he was trying to be in control of Bartertown. And there was a scene where he was trying to control the manure, I think it was. But anyway, since I seem to be alone on this, we probably should go to number 2.
Well, real quick, though, in the movie poster, doesn't Mel Gibson kind of look like Sam Malone from Cheers?
Yes.
He very much does.
Long hair. It's got that awful wig to that movie. The movie is just, it's not up to George Miller's quality. I don't know what happened. And there's no car chases. There's hardly any car chases that I remember.
Well, they had the very cool steel cage match, though.
Yeah, but it's just, you don't make a Mad Max movie without the cars. I think George Miller realized that after he made it.
Probably a good point. All right, well then, jumping right to number 2, Goonies. One-Eyed Willie. We got Mikey. Just overall, what I think is just a fantastic 80 movie. I can't say anything bad about the Goonies. I love the part where Chunk is confessing his sins to the Fratellis. You know, they got the blender out, and you know, all of a sudden he's sitting there talking about how he's making kids puke in the movie theater. I mean, you just can't go wrong with this movie.
No, this movie is awesome. This is the greatest movie ever. Too bad the mom just died.
Right, yeah, I was going to say Mary Ellen Trainor just passed away last month.
Yeah, that is sad.
No, the movie definitely has a lasting impression. If you guys watched The Goldbergs, there was an episode where they based it, like the kids in the show, the Goldbergs, had a little Goonies-type adventure. So it was a pretty cool homage to the movie.
I really need to give that show a little more attention than I have. The Goldbergs, that is. So if you guys had to pick your favorite Goonie, who would it be?
I'll go with Corey Feldman before he got really annoying.
Oh, so you like Mouth. Matt, what do you think?
I was trying to remember, was it Gadget?
Data.
Data.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always liked Data. He always had an answer for everything.
Yeah, booby traps.
Traps, that's right.
Yeah, Jonathan K. Kwan.
What about you, Dave?
I got to give it to Mikey. I like the leader. I like Sean Astin. I just something about the speech that he gives down in the well about this is our time down here. I want to be Mikey.
We gotta mention the Truffle Shuffle.
Well, of course, we got to have the Truffle Shuffle.
Snickers.
Or it was Baby Ruth.
Oh, Baby Ruth. It was a
Yep.
Baby Ruth.
Yep. Sloth, definitely. You can't go past this topic without talking about Sloth. And then for those that are 80s Reboot Overdrive listeners, we had that interview with James Caan, and he was talking about his novelization of the Goonies. And then he goes into a little more in-depth around each of the characters that he was giving a synopsis about. So it was really kind of a cool conversation. So for those that want to go back and check that out. Moving on to Breakfast Club, that's the third one on our list. 5 high school students, all different stereotypes, in detention on Saturday. I don't think I even knew if my school had Saturday detentions. Did you guys's?
No. I've never heard of Saturday detention.
I wouldn't know. I was a good boy.
You're a good boy.
Now, I don't know, Tim, you had the hard rock, the heavy metal stuff, and then you talked about different, your evil Dungeons and Dragons circles. I would assume that you were probably quite fluent with detention.
No, but they kind of needed well, I guess Anthony Michael Hall was the geek, right? I was going to say they needed a gamer geek. I guess he probably would fit that stereotype.
So if you were to be one of those stereotypes, then you'd be the nerd?
I think I was a healthy mix of the 3 guys, actually, because I played baseball, and I was a headbanger, and I was a little nerdy.
Okay. What about you, Matt?
I was definitely the Ali Sheedy character.
You were the basket case. Interesting.
You saw me in high school. It's pretty much all I wore was black.
Until the prom queen helps you do your hair, and then you were fine.
Yeah.
So, Dave, that leaves Molly Ringwald for you, right?
Yeah, no.
I was quite the princess. No, I was probably more of the nerd than anything. But as far as if you were to compare Anthony Michael Hall characters, I'm probably more of the... I probably acted more like the Anthony Michael Hall from Breakfast Club, but I had moments where I was Anthony Michael Hall from 16 Candles. And the reason why I say that is because I was captain of the chess team. So which means at one time, all of the geeks got together and said, yes, we want this guy. So I was probably the most popular geek at one particular moment at least. So, which I don't think Breakfast Club really transcends that, but, as far as being nerdy... that was me. I don't think I was in a trigonometry club, though. I don't remember that as part of my high school curriculum. But it's kind of social, yet demented, if anybody remembers that line.
A lot of good stuff in that movie, and we kind of have to give a shout-out to Vernon, right? Dick?
Oh, yeah.
It was a great character.
Yeah, and we want to know if Barry Manilow realizes that he raided his wardrobe. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff there written by, or directed by John Hughes. Did he write that one also?
Yes, writer-director.
Yep. Yeah, so, I mean, as far as providing your 1980s stereotypical teenagers, I think he just nailed it with that movie. You know, it kind of defined the archetypes for the 80s. And it even kind of transcended time past the 80s into, you know, current generations, because you kind of have those kind of archetypes even now. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, no, it is definitely pretty timeless.
So moving on to Flux Capacitor with Back to the Future.
Kind of surprised it's so low.
Surprised that's number 4 on the list?
Yeah. I think it's probably makes more money than all these other movies combined still.
Well, I don't have it sorted by box office. Let me sort it by box office and see where it falls. Actually, it does fall at the top if you sort it by that way.
Yeah.
So you're right.
That's not surprising to me. I would have expected that too.
But Back to the Future, I mean, once again, another movie that just, I don't think there's anything bad in it with me. I like soundtrack. I like, you know, the whole premise around going back to the past and making sure you're not doing something that's going to interrupt your future person. You know, I like the, you know, just the DeLorean in general. I mean, it's just an all-around great movie.
You missed the point of the movie. It's actually him going back and meeting his parents before, you know, at the same age as him, which I think everybody can relate to. Wouldn't you like to go back and see your parents the same age? Like, what did you do back there?
Well, I think, you know, you probably have what a parental unit acts like, or you know, an adult would act like, and then you go back and see what they're really like, you know, as you were saying, back as a teenager. So that's probably a great point, you know, because you had the mother who was like talking to her daughter about not sitting in cars with boys and not drinking, and then of course she was doing all that.
Yep, and then just how great is Crispin Glover in that movie?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's another awesome character.
He really kind of got creepy, you know, as he got older. But but yeah, Back to the Future though, he was great. Oh jeez, what was his character name?
George
McFly. Yes, he's given this speech about "You are my destiny." Yeah, definitely a great line. All right, so Back to the Future. We're moving on to Weird Science. You know, we can't go wrong with Kelly LeBrock, of course, in this one.
No, Dave, the fabulous Kelly LeBrock.
Fabulous Kelly LeBrock. All of a sudden, this is going to be a Phoebe Cates thing where we got to do fabulous in front of. So we've got Gary Wyatt create a woman, I can't even say girl, Lisa, with their computer. And of course, you know, I think we talked about an earlier podcast where we were talking about where the internet looked so goofy from movies in the 80s. And I think this one is kind of the epitome of what we were talking about. Because you saw the scene where they were trying to put all of that information, they're scanning the you know, pictures from Playboy or whatever it was into their computer. And then all of a sudden this internet, you know, connection that they had was suddenly this magical view that, of course, just didn't exist back in the 80s.
No, it didn't. I don't even remember what they were trying to pull it from. Were they connected to a military? Did they hack into a military base or something like that?
That was probably the Whopper.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember.
Oh, they had to do something special, wacky, to get more power for it or something. I don't remember.
Now, once again, plugging an old podcast, and guys, sorry for keep doing this, but I talked to the cast members of For the Record, Dear John Hughes, and they had went back and watched all the John Hughes movies, including Weird Science, because it was included in that musical. And the two actors that were involved in that musical, we were talking about their favorite scenes from the various movies. And during this one, they loved the scene where Anthony Michael Hall, Gary, is talking jive in the bar.
Yes.
You guys remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, license, Lisa. That was great.
So we reminisced about that, and we also were reminiscing about the scene where they were the biker gang was trying to take over the house, and then all of a sudden Wyatt and Gary had to like kind of step up.
What's that guy's name? The Have Eyes guy. Michael Berryman, also from the Motley Crue Smoking in the Boys Room video.
Oh, really? Was he?
Yep.
Nice.
Creepy looking fellow.
Now, would you guys like to have a big brother like Chet?
That's awesome. Bill Paxton at his jerkiest.
That was like all Bill Paxton played in the 80s. Like the same role over and over again. Can't you see Chet is the same guy that's in Aliens?
Oh my God, Aliens! What was that line? I don't know if you guys are keeping score, but we just got our butt kicked.
Game over, man.
But yeah, and then we had a very young Robert Downey Jr. in that one.
Yeah, I was looking at that. It wasn't his first role, but it's certainly the first one I would recognize him in.
Yeah, he was Ian.
Several before that, but this is the earliest I remember him.
Oh, Robert Downey Jr.'s been acting since he was a kid.
Yeah.
He's been acting since like 1970.
Yep, but I don't know anything he's done.
No.
So I guess who is the bigger jerk in that movie? Was it Chet or Robert Downey Jr.'s character?
Interesting debate there, yeah.
I'd have to give it to Chet.
Yeah, he certainly gets his comeuppance there at the end.
Well, he does, yeah. Gets turned into that very snarling, evil beast character, whatever that was. All right, so Weird Science. Moving on to number 6, Real Genius. This is actually one of my favorites from the 80s.
Yeah, I love this movie, and no one ever talks about it. I think it's underrated and great.
What about you, Matt? Are you a Real Genius fan?
Oh, I love Real Genius. I love the little, I don't know, their roommate guy that enters all the contests. Like figures out how to win.
Oh, Laszlo.
Yeah.
Laszlo Holyfeld. I love, just the one-liners from Chris Knight or Val Kilmer's character. I had this dream. And he goes, "Oh, was it where you had, you were on top of a pyramid and sun goth robes and a bunch of naked women were throwing little pickles at you?" I mean, that's just classic.
Hammer a railroad spike.
And then once again, the actress he was talking to, Valley Girl. So everything's going to go back to Valley Girl from now on, from all of our 1980s movie discussions. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on.
We're going to throw Valley Girl into every single conversation.
I just really wish that Val Kilmer did more comedies, because he was great in that movie, and it's like the last time you ever see him do a comedy, practically.
Well, no, he did Top Secret.
Well, that was before that, wasn't it?
Oh, was that before Real Genius?
I think so.
Oh, we're going to have to look it up now.
But yes, his comedic roles are few and far between. I agree he needs to do more. Or should have done more, let's say.
You're right. 1984. Top Secret, and we're talking about 1985, so.
Guess Batman's a comedy.
Now, wait a minute. Wasn't Jim Morrison The Doors? Doesn't that qualify as a comedy? All right. Sorry. Never mind. Moving on. Let's see. What are the good things about Real Genius? I mean, if this movie is on, I'm watching it.
Yeah, you always have to stop.
Yeah.
I love when they're talking to, was it Kurt? This is God,
Yes. The scene with got all the popcorn.
Yeah.
The laser. Like going. I don't even know if they could probably make that movie now, but I don't think anybody would be able to touch it.
Now, why do I not have the character name for that guy?
I think it's Kurt, but yeah, I don't think it's listed here on IMDb. He's kind of the butt-kissing guy who followed William Addison's character around, right? Professor Hathaway?
Yeah. Oh, wow. This is going to haunt me. I don't think it's Kurt, though. But anyway. Kent. Thank you. Oh, my God, that would have killed me.
That was close.
I don't think there's any reason to talk about Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
No.
Yeah, so moving on.
It doesn't even have Robert Englund in it.
No, it says Robert Englund.
Yeah, I know, but shot scenes with him afterwards. There's a bunch of scenes in there where it's not him.
Right.
And you can tell because the way he walks as Freddy, the way he walked as Freddy's like kind of like a gunslinger, and you look at him and it's like, that's not him. What's going on?
All right, so Freddy's Revenge gets no love from us. We're going to move on to St. Elmo's Fire. Once again, this is another Brad Pack type movie. I don't know. I was really a big fan of this movie. I just like the dynamic between the group of friends.
Oh, this is one of those movies that I just loathe.
You loathe? Wow. Okay.
They complain incessantly in this movie. Everybody's whining in this movie, and I'm just like, shut up. Do you guys have a house over your head? Do you have food on the table? Shut up. I have nothing to complain about.
So you don't even like for instance, Rob Lowe's character, Billy Hicks? Or do you even remember that much about the movie? You probably saw it once and said, I'm done.
I've seen it a couple times over the years, and it's just, for lack of a better term, it's a very Jewish movie.
That's an interesting way to describe it. Okay. Tim, are you a fan or not?
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't probably like it as much as Breakfast Club, but I've only seen it a couple times. Probably remember the theme song by John Parr more than the movie itself. It was a cool tune, but I'm definitely not a hater. But I can see where Matt's coming from, though. I do get that. All these beautiful people, and it's after a while, like, you know what? Hey, suck it up.
Yeah. You guys don't have it bad, people. Come on.
I'm trying to remember. This is one where Rob Lowe was like, the stud boy in college, and then he still goes back to the frat house, and then he kind of turns out that he's a bit of a joke in the eyes of the current college students. That's this one, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
I thought that was a little turn of events there.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much the storyline for him, other than, being a young father, and then all of a sudden he's not responsible. He's always borrowing money from, Mayor Wenningham's character, who's Wendy. And then all of a sudden at the end of it, he starts getting more responsible and he starts paying back people and that kind of thing. So he's the irresponsible one of the group, but then, evolves over the course of the film. But yeah, I always related to the Andrew McCarthy character, the Kevin. Just, something about having was a secret admirer of people, but not really, having the cojones to say something. So, yeah, I guess I could relate to that in some fashion.
Yeah, certainly classic theme. Relate as well. Now, would this one count as having the most Brat Packers in the same movie, you think?
Well, I think if we were to look at the cast, we're looking at Emilio Estevez, Rob Lowe, Andrew McCarthy, Demi Moore, Judd Nelson, Ali Sheedy, Mayor Wenningham. That is quite the lineup. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I think that beats out, obviously, Breakfast Club.
Yeah. Crown him. Crown St. Elmo. He's got the most Brat Packers in this movie.
There you go. They win. So, St. Elmo's Fire, is there any love for Legend?
No.
No. All right, moving on.
Oh, I love Legend. Come on.
I'm willing to treat Legend like you guys treated Valley Girl. So, you know what? We'll just move right on.
Well, I do remember buddies of mine going to see this at the Barrington Square 6 Theater, and, there's like hardly any dialogue for long stretches of time, and I guess the theater was packed, it was supposed to be a big movie, Tom Cruise, all that stuff, and after all this, forest sceneries going on, and I guess some guy, some adult, yelled out at the top of his lungs, "What the bleep is this, Wild Kingdom?" Just not a good movie. I've seen so many cheesy, bad fantasy, sword and sorcery, mythology movies, and this is just not a good movie.
Oh, I love Tim Curry's performance in this movie. He's so good. And I really liked all the scenery.
I mean, it does have Billy Barty in it, so you got to give it something for that.
And it was Ridley Scott, so
Yep.
I mean, there should have been something more there, but yeah, I don't know what much more to say about it.
Well, the main problem is Tom Cruise just shows up dead in this movie. He has like no chemistry with anybody.
Oh! I forgot. Yeah, the girl, right? Mia Sarah. Ferris Bueller.
Sarah, yeah. But Tim Curry, I think, is just excellent in this movie, playing the devil. Or I don't remember his character's name. Darkness.
Kind of going through, scanning the list here to see some hot ones. How about Commando?
Yes.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's so cheesy, so awesome.
So, retired elite Black Ops Commando launches a one-man war against a group of South American criminals. And then Ray Don Chon.
Doesn't he kill like 100 guys out in the open field where he doesn't have any cover whatsoever, he never reloads? It's just awesome. It's just 80s.
Is this the one where they crash through the, like, 4 hotel rooms or something?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Where he's holding the little Weasley guy over the cliff, pumping him for information, and says, "I promise I won't kill you." And the guy says, "You said you wouldn't kill me." I lied.
Alyssa Milano was his daughter.
She's too young. You can't call her Fabulous Alyssa Milano yet. She's too young.
Oh, okay. That would just be creepy.
Yeah.
All right.
But she's the same age as me. Does it count?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I wouldn't be too bad for me. But no, and then we had that Commando game, the coin-operated arcade game. Commando was around about the same time. I don't know if they were tied in, but that was a great video game too.
So next up is Rocky IV. Rocky IV. So we don't have anything to say about the Soviet fight.
I will break this movie.
I will break you. But is that it? Is that all we have to say about Rocky IV? Really?
No, it was another good cheesy 80s movie.
Oh, this is just horrible, cheesy 80s movie.
A big sequence with Apollo Creed dancing around, James Brown living in America, man, getting himself all worn out when he gets his ass killed.
Yeah. And just the sequence of Rocky training up in the mountain. I was like, why is he training up in a mountain?
The meat processing plant that he normally trained in wasn't available, so.
I don't know, but they just missed the part of Rocky where it's set in Philadelphia, and they just took it out of Philadelphia, and it was just a bad idea.
Yeah, really, the scene that I always remember is the that one scene where what's the Russian's name? Drago.
Yeah.
Yep.
Says, "I will break you."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that really stuck with me out of that movie. So moving on to Teen Wolf. Michael J. Fox, once again, this is our second entry for him in 1985. So curious about what the filming schedule was like, to go from, you're going to go play with the DeLorean to now we're going to be, pasting a whole bunch of hair to you.
The filming schedule, I think he filmed Teen Wolf during hiatus on Family Ties. He was filming Family Ties at the same time as he was filming Back to the Future.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So he was literally being bussed from Family Ties set to the Back to the Future set. He wasn't sleeping at all.
So then when did he squeeze in Teen Wolf?
I think during the hiatus. He
Okay.
wasn't filming during the hiatus of, during the summer of between Family Tie seasons.
So
On IMDb, there's a little picture of the movie poster. It says Michael J. Fox is back from the future in a new comedy.
So this is really kind of a bizarre take on a werewolf movie. I mean, in the 80s, we had, American Werewolf in London, most definitely a horror flick. And then you have Teen Wolf that's kind of this coming of age, and let's all just kind of be cool with when he's a werewolf, but when he's his normal self, he's kind of a nerdy guy. The werewolf thing is already hard enough to grasp, but now we've got to accept the fact where he's the party animal when he's a werewolf character.
Not one of my favorite movies.
The basketball game is fun, and the part where he's, "Give me a keg of beer" in the liquor store with the old man. It's a couple of good things, but yeah, this wasn't real deep, I don't think.
I'm trying to remember what was her name? I know we had Boof, which was kind of his sidekick character. but then there was the other one that he kind of wanted to be with. Do you guys remember her, the blonde?
No, I don't remember much of this movie at all, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
That's how forgettable it was. It's just like, okay, he's a werewolf. That's the problem with it. It's like they have him become a werewolf, and he really doesn't do anything with it, other than somehow it becomes cool. And I don't know, I grew up being a horror fan, so I just wanted him to kill somebody, I guess.
You didn't need a family-friendly werewolf movie, is what you're
Not
saying.
really. Yeah.
All right. Better Off Dead.
Oh, we briefly mentioned Witness.
$2. Where's my $2?
No, hold on. Tim brought up Witness. You wanna talk about Harrison Ford?
That was a cool movie, man. I only knew him at that time. I only knew him as Han Solo and Indiana Jones, and this was a different kind of movie. And I thought it was really cool. It was a good thriller.
Yeah, I honestly think that we can do a Harrison Ford kind of show just by itself, talking about the different 80s movies that he's given us. You can go from Blade Runner to Han Solo to Indy to even Witness. So yeah, I definitely think that he had a broad range in the 80s.
Where I learned what Amish people were was that movie.
So it sounded like Matt wanted to go to Better Off Dead.
Yeah, I mean that's a classic.
Well, that's a comedy.
And it seems so funny that everybody seems to go to the "I want my $2" line.
Because it's hilarious. Just wherever he is, there's this little kid running around. Where's my $2?
So let me see who else is in this one. David Ogden Stiers.
Nobody.
Nobody. I was actually going through the cast list.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Booger's in there. My fault. Curtis Armstrong.
Fabulous Amanda Weiss. Don't know how to pronounce her name, but she was
fabulous. There you go.
Also in Fast Times. The whole French thing was funny with John Cusack's mother.
That's right.
French fries.
This whole mountain's snow. Do you know what this value is on the street?
I think one of my favorite parts was when Cusack's character was watching TV and Barney Rubble spoke to him through the TV and said, "Would you mind if I asked out that?"
Yeah.
All right, so Better Off Dead to European Vacation. No? I'm thinking no.
It wasn't as good as the first one.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. But there's some pretty funny scenes in there. Hey kids, look, Big Ben, Parliament. They're stuck in the roundabout.
And then they changed the kids on us too.
Yeah.
Oh, they always change the kids.
Yeah.
Hey, does anyone know Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo, were they an item?
I do not know.
I don't know.
Just wondering, because I know there was another movie around this time called Modern Problems that they were in together.
I remember that one. The lady from Give Me a Break. She was like in that one also.
Yeah,
And Dabney Coleman.
Yeah, Nell was the voodoo queen or whatever.
Right.
Demon dust. He touched it. He died.
All right, so Fright Night.
That's a great movie too. Underrated.
Yep.
All right, Matt, you're the horror guy. What'd you think of that one? Horror comedy?
I love this one because there's death. No. I just loved it because I grew up in watching, Elvira, and who else was around that time? There was somebody else that was hosting like those late night shows. And
well, just in the Chicago area, we had the son of Svengoolie doing that stuff on Saturday nights.
Yeah. And just to have, was it Malcolm? That's not Malcolm McDowell.
Roddy McDowell.
Roddy
McDowell.
Yeah.
Just to have him come in, and he's just great in that movie. I just love him in that movie.
I Evil Ed. I just love that character.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that if Nick was on with us, he'd be able to do his impression of Evil Ed.
Record that with him later and edit it in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was a big fan. I liked Fright Night a lot. It just it seemed like such an interesting premise of having this actor character, Roddy McDowell, being the expert but then when he gets confronted with the real life vampire, then all of a sudden he turns kind of, chicken. But yeah, definitely a good movie.
I wasn't a big blood and guts horror movie guy, but this was a good one.
Agreed. Anybody want to talk about Mask with Cher and Eric Stoltz? Did anybody see it besides me?
Oh, I've seen it. No. I can't.
No, you can't? All right. It's kind of a very touchy-feely kind of movie. But, yeah, I don't know. I liked it. I'll go on record of saying that. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'll cry. No, just kidding.
I like the movie. It's just, I don't know. At the end of the day, it's just kind of empty to me.
It's very touchy-feely, very sad at the end. Yeah. I don't know where to go with that. We want to keep it upbeat, so we're going to move on to Fletch.
Skipping Rambo?
Oh, First Blood 2? I'm sorry. Did you want to talk about First Blood 2?
Oh, but I think it's telling that you wanted to talk about Mask and not Rambo. Just kidding. Stallone and Arnold, same year. Big, crazy, over-the-top 80s, kill all the bad guys movies with this and Commando.
I think this started off their little box office rivalry. Who could make the better action movie? It's money. Whose movie could bring in more bucks?
So, First Blood 2, it's not as memorable as the first one, though.
No, it's not. It's not. The First Blood is, in my opinion, darn near perfect movie, and this is just over the top. I loved it as a kid, but no, they're not on the same level by any means.
If I'm remembering right, isn't it the one where he's going back to Vietnam?
Yeah, do we get to win this time? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, and he falls in love, and she immediately gets wasted. And, yeah.
He just goes to war.
What? Pretty much that's every Rambo movie, though, isn't it?
I think this was the only one he had an actual love interest.
Well, go to war. I was repeating that line.
Yeah.
So it's always him amongst, or against tons of people.
Yep.
So, like I said, Fletch. Love the sarcasm of Chevy Chase in this one. The scene where he's in with the doctor's office and he's like, "Ooh, you using the whole fist there, Doc?"
Yeah.
He's like, "What was your name again?" It was Babar. Was that two B's? Well, yeah, not together though. Love this movie. Fletch was great.
Yeah, this I would say I like this better than the Vacation movie. I think this is probably my favorite Chevy Chase movie. I wouldn't call Caddyshack a Chevy Chase movie because of the ensemble. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Well, I would definitely put this one above. I guess if you were to classify Chevy Chase movies, I would put it above Vacation, most definitely. I'm just trying to figure out Caddyshack. If I were to classify that as a Chevy Chase movie, would it beat out Fletch? And I think Caddyshack wins.
Yeah, me too. But I that's why I'm hedging. I'm saying that's not a.
But yeah, based on the ensemble, right? Is it more of a Bill Murray movie?
No, it's not more of a Bill Murray movie at all.
What, Caddyshack?
Caddyshack, he's barely, what has he got? Screen time of like 10 minutes?
Yeah, but everybody remembers his parts.
Yeah, they always remember it, but he's really not in that movie that much.
Still, he still's at the scenes, every scene he's in.
Yeah.
But back to Fletch, we have the reporter. He's investigating the drug traffic at the beach, and he has a whole bunch of different disguises. The one scene where he's talking about, or he's acting as like a flight mechanic, and there's there's a whole bunch of gunk on that window. You got to clean that up. It's great stuff.
All ball bearings.
Yeah, it's all ball bearings.
And then what was the thing the basketball sequence where he had the giant afro too?
I know it was the Lakers. I just don't remember. I think he was just kind of like falling asleep, and that was kind of like a little dream sequence.
I just don't remember the exact number, but it was like, there he is, standing 6'1" with the afro. 6'8".
Yeah, that was a good one. So we move on to A View to a Kill. So we're talking Roger Moore, 007, Christopher Walken.
This is a Bond movie that sometimes I'll watch it and I'll end up laughing my butt off, and other times I'm just dreading it. I can never make up my mind whether I like it or not.
What would you not like about it?
It's just so cheesy. And scene with a hot air balloon. I'm like, what is this? This is like watching Austin Powers before it was Austin Powers. It's just so bizarre. It's got Grace Jones in it.
Right, Mayday.
And
Christopher
really awful.
Walken.
Christopher Walken, and he's just chewing up the scenes through the entire movie. Really bad performance from, it's just awful from, what's her name?
Tanya Roberts.
God, I hate her. Yeah, Tanya Roberts. She is just awful. I can't believe she was in so many movies.
What about you, Tim? Were you a fan of View to a Kill?
Okay. Another one where it was on HBO a lot, and I watched it a lot, but it's definitely not my favorite Bond movie. But this is probably the first time I admitted to liking Duran Duran, which was a big moment for me.
So you actually came out with I like Duran Duran, or was that just a secret guilty pleasure?
I admitted the song was cool. I did not say at the time I liked Duran Duran. That sentence did not come out of my mouth.
Okay. The band's so good they named it twice. I can see what you mean. I can see how it's kind of cheesy. I can see how the Max Zorin character of Christopher Walken was too cartoonish. So yeah, so I can see where you're going with that. But definitely a solid staple for kind of the 80s, James Bondish spy type of movie. So it kind of fits right in. And I don't know, maybe it's guilty pleasure, but I didn't hate it. But cartoonish, yes.
It seemed like almost kill the Bond franchise completely. I don't know what it did on the box office.
Well, this was Roger Moore's last one, right?
I think so. I'm pretty sure it was.
Oh, making me look it up.
Box office, 50 million. Budget was 30 million.
Yes, that was his last.
Yeah, that's
Bond.
a bomb. That's a bomb for sure.
Yeah, most definitely it was his last Bond. All right, so then we've got to put some deep thought and talk into Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Silence. Wouch.
I don't know who's going to jump in first. I mean, I'm not really a Pee Wee Herman fan. I never watched this TV show or anything, but it's a pretty fun movie.
I know you are, but what am I?
Yeah. It's so stupid, it's funny.
It's hilarious.
One of my favorites is when he goes flying over the handles of his bike, goes rolling across the grass, and dusts himself off, and looks at all the kids. I meant to do that.
And he's talking to Dottie, and he's like, "You don't want to get involved in a guy like me." I wish I remember the whole speech, though. But, yeah. It was,
I'm a loner, a rebel.
There you go.
And when he's giving he's plotting out what they're going to do down in the basement, and the amazing Larry's not paying attention. Large Marge. Oh, gosh. What could go on? Anybody remember the band, the heavy metal band that makes a cameo at the end?
No.
Oh, I don't. No.
Twisted Sister.
Oh.
They make a cameo at the end? How come I don't remember that?
Pee-wee, during a big chase, Pee-wee crashes. They're filming a video for the song "Burn in Hell" off "Stay Hungry," and he goes by on his bike. He's like, "Hey, dudes!"
Wow, you actually remember more about that movie than I do.
My brother and I watched that a million times, endlessly quotable. I forced my kid to watch it with me. My wife was like, "No," but then I watched it with my kid, and I actually liked it. So I'm like, "See, I know what I'm talking about sometimes."
So would that be bordering on child abuse? I'm wondering. Just kidding.
No.
All right, so Pee-wee to Cocoon. Nobody wants to talk about Cocoon. Ouch.
It's a pretty forgettable movie, to be honest.
All right, so you got to admit, though, maybe not Cocoon itself, but just Say Anything, where Lloyd is doing the intro, to bring you Cocoon and showing to all the old people. That was classic, though.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. It is, I mean, if you watch it now, it's still enjoyable, but once you watch it, it's like, I don't remember what I just watched.
So easily forgettable is what you're saying.
Yeah, I still understand why there was a sequel.
Wait, there was a sequel?
Electric Boogaloo.
All right, so we got to give some attention to Last Dragon then. You know, you've got the glow. You've got and actually one of our a good retweeter of our podcast links is a fan tribute to The Last Dragon. So there's obviously a huge fan group for this movie that's out there, and just wonderfully cheesy. I just, the whole glow thing is just weird, but just, show enough. Who is the master?
Enough.
Who is the master?
This is the Barry Gordy of movies. I think he made this movie just to make the soundtrack.
Now, wasn't this where the big song Rhythm of the Night was in reality sung by a man, but in the movie it was lip-synced by Vanity? I mean, that says a little something.
Yeah.
Leroy Green against Eddie Arcadian and Shonuff. The final scene. And once again, another plug for yet a past podcast. We talked to Christopher Murney before, and he gave us a little more insight around the filming of The Last Dragon. And some of those things were kind of ad-libbed, so it was really kind of fun to hear about. So if those that haven't listened, please go back and check it out. So I'm going to go from The Last Dragon to just one of the guys. I'm jumping way past a bunch of other movies. Just one of the guys. Do you guys remember this one at all?
Yeah.
No. There's a girl that wants to, I guess, write an article or something like that, and so she's not being taken seriously, so she masquerades as a boy in another school, and all of a sudden, suddenly has like a love interest for this guy she's trying to help to be more of a man. It's kind of a weird kind of movie. Oddly, I liked it.
It's not one I've seen a bunch of times. I do remember it being a pretty good movie, though. It's nice, I guess, to see it the other way around. Usually it's the guy dressing up in drag or whatever. You see a million of those, but this was a different spin on that.
Right. Actually, there's a couple of them that probably just need to be mentioned. I don't know if we need to spend a lot of time on, but Lady Hawk.
I need to go back and watch that again. I feel like I should like that more than I remember liking it.
What an endorsement.
It is a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that a lot. It's got Rutger Hauer. I love him. He's such a badass.
Got Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, the fabulous
Matthew Broderick.
Now, is it because Matthew Broderick's kind of the, I don't know, nerdy kind of character in a, fantasy movie? Is that the reason why the appeal maybe isn't on this one?
That's a good point. That's entirely possible.
Maybe. He's kind of the sidekick trying to help these two get back together.
Right. But yeah, just the Rutger Hauer and the Michelle Pfeiffer angle of it, that right there is kind of really cool in itself. But do you really need the sidekick kind of being in the middle? Does he help pull it together, or does he make it worse? That's the big question.
I don't think he makes it worse.
Okay. Fair enough.
But I'm a huge Richard Donner fan anyway. I generally like all of Richard Donner's movies.
All right. So what about Once Bitten? Got Mr. Jim Carrey as a virgin who is being seduced by a vampire.
Don't really remember it, but I do. Some reason I remember some of it, but not all of it. It's like I've only watched bits and pieces of movies over the years. I never actually sat through the entire thing.
I don't know. You guys mentioned it earlier, and I never saw it. Don't know anything about it. Sorry.
All right, no worries. Desperately Seeking Susan. Anybody a fan?
The visuals, yeah.
Yeah, Madonna. Okay.
Visuals.
Roseanne Arquette. All right. The Sure Thing. What about John Cusack and The Sure Thing?
Yeah, that's we had. I didn't realize I had a radio show back in college, and there was a little drop-in thing we would play all the time, and I didn't know it was actually a quote from this movie. We used to play it just because it was so funny, and then we went back and saw the movie. We're like, hey, it was the part where, do you want to go for a ride? That part.
Let's see, Explorers. Ethan Hawke, River Phoenix. You guys remember where they built like this spaceship out of I think it was essentially like a tilt-a-whirl from one of those old Carney rides.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm remembering Explorers correctly, but if I remember right, that was kind of what was.
That's it.
Yep. Okay.
They're getting the little psychic messages, and he build a circuit board that gives them force bubble around stuff, and they get swished off into space. Has a great ending to it. I just love the ending.
So now, Ethan Hawke, was he the one that had the visions, and then River Phoenix was the one that built it? Was that right?
No, all three of them had the same vision.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's been way too long from that movie for me.
Then they get wished off, and they meet the aliens, and the aliens are kind of cool. Some of it's kind of a letdown, but the ending is they got suckered in, and the people that they meet are kids too, so they're like meeting kids their own age. Even though they look like adult aliens.
I don't know that one. That sounds cool. Between that and Once Bitten, I think I'm going to go try to seek out Explorers first.
Yeah, probably Explorers is better.
I would think that would definitely be a good one to show your kid. Explorers. Yeah, most definitely. How about Enemy Mine?
You ugly face. Another HBO special.
Yeah.
Another one at the time, whenever that was on, you had to stop and watch it.
Yeah.
I just remember him picking on Mickey Mouse.
I don't remember that part, but...
Well, there was something to do with they were talking about philosophers from their different worlds. And I guess at one time, Dennis quoted Mickey Mouse. And so the Louis Gossett Jr. alien character was trying to, I don't know, pick on him. And so he thought that it was an insult to insult Mickey Mouse for some reason. So I just remember that. I don't know why. That's a random little tidbit. So Vision Quest. What about that one? Matthew Modine?
Great movie. Awesome soundtrack. Linda Fiorentino at the height of her powers.
I agree. I like the soundtrack. Now, if I remember the premise right, wasn't he trying to drop weight so that he can wrestle a certain person that was like undefeated or something?
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Okay.
I don't remember if he was dropping weight or gaining weight. Must have been dropping weight. I think.
Because I remember something where he was wearing like this suit to sweat more, and then was running or something like that.
Couldn't remember that movie.
So that is the top 50 of, we jumped around a little bit and skipped some, but that's like the top 50 from IMDb.
Well, you skipped over my favorite movie from 1985.
Well, that's why we always do a wrap-up. So, what do you want to throw at us?
Who's in for a little necrophilia?
The Animator?
No. No, Brazil. No Brazil fans around here?
I never saw it. That was Monty Python related, right? I'm a little embarrassed to admit I didn't see it.
It's a Terry Gilliam film, yeah. It's not really Monty Python, but you can certainly see the humor in there. It was probably a movie ahead of its time, for sure, because it completely bombed at the box office.
Yeah, I'm with Tim on this one. I really can't say that I remember that one too much. What about you, Tim? Is there anything that we missed that you wanted to make sure?
Yeah, we just ran right past Red Sonja. Come on.
Red Sonja.
It was terrible. But
it was terrible. It was terrible.
With Brigitte Nielsen, man, it was a big year for her. Between that and Rocky IV, she was with both Stallone and Arnold. I mean, that's a big year. And then what happened to her?
Didn't she marry? She married, who did she marry?
I don't know if she married Stallone. I don't remember, but I think they were an item for a while.
Yeah.
Now for me, the movie that we didn't bring up that wasn't even on the top 50, so I had to go to another screen to look it up. It's Spies Like Us.
Oh, that was...
Yeah, Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, Doctor.
That was a decent movie. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, I definitely like that one. That one definitely should have been higher up on the list, so I don't know why nobody would have looked that one up. Actually, I just realized that Remo Williams didn't make the list higher up either. Anybody remember that one? Remo Williams?
Mm-hmm.
No. Yeah, another racist movie.
But anyway, I could probably do this all night though. Oh wow, gotcha.
Day of the Dead was in 1985, I think, too.
Yep,
Back before we had The Walking Dead, we had to wait years for a zombie movie.
just out of curiosity, gotcha. Does that do anything for you guys?
Don't know it.
Don't know it? All right. Definitely a Anthony Edwards trying to be cooler than when he was, in the nerd movies. But if you don't remember, good enough. All right, so closing out 1985 movies. Tim, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I was, like I said at the beginning, I was surprised. I thought there were more. There were certainly good movies that I like from this year, but compared to the last couple of years we went over, there weren't really, aside from Back to the Future, big giant event movies or anything like that.
Okay, Matt?
Care Bear Stare.
We didn't cover the Care Bears movie. Matt wanted to talk about Care Bears.
No,
I'm
I didn't.
sorry we skipped that over.
I'm just joking. I want to talk about Care Bears. I just found it funny that the Care Bears were so popular that they somehow made a movie in 1985.
I mean, there's so many great ones that we talked about. We talked about Back to the Future. We talked about Real Genius, Goonies. I mean, to me, these are 1980s staples. So, to me, not a horrible year, but definitely not as standout as like the summer of '82, obviously. But if you didn't have Goonies in there, you didn't have Breakfast Club, you didn't have Weird Science or Back to the Future, or Real Genius. Our 80s montage would be missing a lot. So with that, I bid you guys good night.
All right, have a good one, everybody.
All right, good night.
Night. We hope you've enjoyed this show. This podcast is part of the 80's Reboot Overdrive channel on Southgate Media Group. You can follow us on Facebook on the 80's Reboot group page. We're also on Twitter and Tumblr at 80's Reboot. We invite you to check out all the wonderful podcasts and blogs available at southgatemediagroup.com. And thank you for reliving the 80s.